Well, a big g'day and welcome to the round 6 preview of the Riddle District Football Netball League Web TV show. My name's Andy here with Shawnee again, mate, and we're just loving it out here at the Eastern City Oval, are we, mate, here in Ballarat?
We are, mate. We're at the Eastern Oval in Ballarat just prior to our Under-18 Challenge match against the Ballarat Footy League, and as you can see, we're all up for the conditions. It's teeming down rain, as it has been in Ballarat all day, so we'll get into this reasonably quickly, I think, mate, before we die of hypothermia.
We certainly will, mate, and just quickly while I can, I want to make the Back to the Future references. Looking at the paper here, it reminds me of that scene where Marty's got this, all the paperwork from Doc sent from 1885. It's all in the rain, torrential. You can barely read it, so we're just going to roll with it.
End of Back to the Future 2 for all you watching out there and playing at home.
Exactly, classic scene. Looking back at last week, Sunbury Kangaroos v Broadford. The Sunbury Kangaroos 18-20-128 defeated Broadford 4-5-29. Great fourth quarter performance there from the Roos. The Sunbury variety.
It was indeed. Dwayne Tate, 2 goals. Young, Tyrone Cuff, Matthew Leonard, Jake Powell and Jared Pretty all kicking 2 for the Kangaroos. All singles for Broadford, better players for the Roos. Fishenden, Leonard and Streef, and for Broadford, Duggan, Gillard and Jamie Kelly.
Magnificent performance there. We've got the big game that we're at, mate, here on Highlands FM. Lansfield 14-14, 98 defeated Melton Central's 12-14, 86. 30 seconds into the second term, the Mighty Central's up by 35 points and they were trailing at half-time. Big game.
Yeah, it was 9 goals in the second quarter to Lansfield. All square at three-quarter time, and then Lansfield kicked again to get the job done in the last quarter. Johnny Baker with 5 goals for the Tigers, Scott Swindles, Luke Malone and Matthew Burkett with 2 each. Adam Fenton 4 for Centrals and Caracellis and Armstrong 3 each for them as well. Malone, Collins and Baker best for Lansfield, as well as Chris Burkett, the hanging rock player of the week, Andy.
Yeah, certainly absolute star, and his brother wasn't too far behind him as well. Great to see the Burkett brothers up and firing for the Mighty Tigers. And of course, one of the best goals I've seen this year already, seeing Dan Rebecca kicking a left foot goal from 55 metres out to put the boys in front in the last quarter.
Tell us a little bit about the game though, because obviously it did ebb and flow a little bit. You mentioned that Centrals were 6 goals up. Yep. Lansfield, though, by half-time were ahead of them. Yeah, one of the more extraordinary performances I've seen in quite some time. A great day of football. Obviously, the Centrals burst out of the block, kicked a goal in the first 30 seconds of the first term. They got off to a really good strong start, just like they did against the Redbacks. But the Tigers came with a wave of momentum. Now, there was a lot of wind going towards the right or the Laurie Green Pavilion end. Not too much, but I think just by coincidence at the end of the day, the majority of the goals were kicked from that end. Hence, that was the team that gathered momentum at the time. So the wind was a little bit evident, but I think the team that really dominated were kicking to the right and they caught it anyway. Let's keep moving, mate. Riddle taking on Rockbank last weekend. A good win for the Bombers, but I suppose not without a bit of a challenge from the Rams.
Yeah, exactly. Great to see the Rams really put up a challenge there. Gav Spall's team, Lee Spall, the Spalls are dominating. It is. Let's be honest there. He's doing a great job.
He'll be on next week on the show as well, so he'll be able to tell us there.
So we'll be able to pump up his tyres, the Mighty Rams. Riddle up 13-14, 92 to Rockbank 7-4, 46. The Bombers kicked 3 goals in the last 10 just to break away a little bit after being about 4 goals up for most of the game.
They did. Allen and Crows, 3 goals each for the Bombers. 2 to Matty Darby, 4 Rockbank. Damien Nicky kicked 3 and Matthew Krell 2. Better players for Riddle, Samet, Foreman and Darby. And for Rockbank, Jones, McNabb and Zarafa.
Now, big Diggers Rest. The boys were out firing over there at Green Hill Reserve, and Diggers Rest 16-12, 108 defeating the home side Wallen 8-15, 63. The Pies, well, they sort of kicked themselves out of it in the last quarter. They kicked, I think, 2 goals 8 into what would have been a pretty stiff breeze, but didn't quite keep up the momentum that they had, and they went down by 45 points.
Probably kicked themselves out of the first quarter as well. It was 7 scoring shots to 3 in the first quarter, and Wallen were 1 goal 6. If it was 6 goals 1, it might have been a completely different ball game. Joseph Piccolo, 4 goals, 4 Diggers Rest, 3 to Stewie Clark, and 2 each to Marshall, Kilty and Freeth. Reece Frost kicked 3 goals for Wallen, 2 each to McLeish and Hanson. For the Boroughs, best players Caton, Gleeson and Laurie, and for Wallen, Collis, Trotman and Jared Mills.
Magnificent performances there by the guys down there putting on a good show.
I think there's people trying to start a fire to keep warm in the grandstand.
Exactly.
Andy, so we better keep moving.
That -2 degrees up there at the moment, mate. Macedon 16-16, 112 defeated Kilmore 7-4, 46 by 66 points over the JJ Clancy Reserve, and a good solid four-quarter performance there for the Cats. Might get their season back on track.
Yeah, good to see the Cats get back onto the winners list. Obviously, had been up against a couple of pretty strong teams in the weeks before. Couldn't get the job done, but they're back on it now. Al Meldrum, their coach, kicked 4 goals on the weekend. 3 to Goodwin, 2 each to Detman and Faruja. All single goal kickers for Kilmore. You see them on the screen at the moment. Best for Macedon, Story, Goodwin and Nick Arnold, and for Kilmore, Sheldon, Saunders and Desmond. And Nick Arnold, this week's Steve Turner medal nomination for RDFL Dome Rising Gun.
Certainly an outstanding attribute to the Macedon Footy Club. Has come through really well as the under-18s captain, and it's great to see his leadership being shown across the back line so far this year, mate.
He's doing a fantastic job, as are the Romsey Football Club, because they're pounding everyone at the moment, and they gave Wood and Heskett a nice old touch-up. Your old boys on the weekend,
yes, I know. Well, some people have said I'm half Romsey at the moment. I spend enough time down there. But Romsey 21-22, 148, defeated my own town. Wood and Heskett 4-4, 28 by 120 points there. Matty Davidson kicked 9 goals at three-quarter time, and he was on fire. But the Redbacks could have been in front by a heck of a lot more, 13 scoring shots to 1 in that first term.
Yeah, they could have, and obviously kicking 21 goals, 22, as well as Davidson's 9. Mitch Farmer kicked 3, Cam Streeter and Nathan Stevens 2 each. Luke Macklin dobbed the couple for the Hawks. Best for Romsey, Austin Davidson and Brad Mitchell. And for Woodend Heskett, no surprise to see Geordie Taylor in the best. He's been there all year. So is Alex Shippard and Guy Donovan and Tim Jones amongst the best as well, mate.
Simply magnificent. Great to see the other young guys and some of the smaller guys get in there for the Hawks. And a lot more confidence will come up from their team. They've got the next 2 weeks off, so they've probably got the longest time off in footy this year, mate.
Just about. Let's talk netball though, mate, because on the weekend we had some pretty good games of netball around the RDFL. We'll quickly run through the results. They're all up on the screen at the moment. The Sunbury Kangaroos 67 defeated Broadford 16. Melton Central 63 defeating Lansfield 45. Good effort by Lansfield in that one.
They're on fire there. The mighty the Tigers. They're pushing.
They are indeed. Riddle 63 defeating Rockbank 24. Wallen and Diggers Rest a draw in that game, 26 goals apiece.
An epic low-scoring encounter there.
Epic is correct. In the last game for the weekend, Romsey 62 taking on Woodend Heskett 22. I think Netball Day, I believe, down at the Gilbert Gordon Oval, Yenny.
Certainly, and they got a lot of great atmosphere down there. A lot of people donating generously, and Lansfield had Pink Netball Day as well. So great to see their communities kicking on. We saw Romsey do it just the other week. So it's great to see all clubs get around and chip in for a valuable cause, mate.
Mate, have a look at my notes. Absolutely waterlogged. They're worse than the Western Union paper and Back to the Future, mate. They're done. Let's have a look and see who we've got, because you caught up with a guest tonight. Obviously, we're filming this before the game. Yep. You caught up after the game. It's our own kind of personal DeLorean that we've got going.
Yep, we certainly do.
Going. Who'd you catch up with, mate?
We managed to catch up with Chris Hollywood Wilson from the under-18s,
yes.
The mighty coach there. Obviously talking about the other great game of football that we're going to witness here tonight here at sunny Ballarat.
Hey, the rain's stopping.
Yep, exactly.
It's getting better. The sun will come out in a minute.
Just we're getting ready to stop filming, mate.
Yeah.
The rain's decided to conveniently stop for us, and the crowd's decided to ease up a little bit. No fires all right, so no, it's fantastic, and always enjoy the company of Hollywood. Does so much for the league, and a great ambassador, and of course all the great kids coming through, mate. It's simply sensational.
Well, let's see what Hollywood has to say.
Purchase a Simmons home and you'll get up to $30,000 to spend at the Simmons Gallery.
Let's go shopping. You must upgrade your bathroom. We've got a whole range of styles to choose from. You can upgrade your lighting. How about classic or contemporary? And we've got lots of kitchen upgrades, so you can create the look you want.
Get up to $30,000 to spend on any upgrades you want at no extra cost. And ask about our $5,000 finance solution. Visit a Simmons Display Centre today.
Well, fantastic, great insight into what has been a great game here tonight.
It was a great game. Now we're back. The rain's kind of stopped. It's still a little bit drizzling, but you can see very picturesque behind us here at the Eastern Oval in Ballarat with the grandstand. Ballarat Footy League actually playing the senior interleague game here next Saturday as well in the AFL WorkSafe Country Championships.
Who have they got again, mate?
They're playing the Bendigo Football Netball League, so there'll be quite a few people watching at home, be familiar with people from the Bendigo Footy League as well. So if you're not following the Riddle game, we implore you, come down to Ballarat, have a look at the Bendigo guys go around, and personally I hope they get a good old touch-up.
I'm quietly going to disagree with you there, mate. A few Gisborne and Kyneton boys, hopefully they'll get in there and they'll stitch up the Ballarat boys. And of course, if you are going to come down to this game, you can jump on your mobile phones and highlandsfm.org.au and actually listen to the game between the RDFNL and the mighty Cobram team as well. So
very much looking forward to that. And we'll stream it on the website as well. We'll have a link for streaming on the website both this weekend. For which game are you calling again this weekend?
Macedon v Diggers Rest.
Beautiful. We'll have that link Saturday morning on the website, so you can listen to Macedon Diggers Rest, and then the next week, of course, for the interleague game against the Cobram District Footy League. 1:10 start at the Tatura Showgrounds. It's a double-header day with the Maryborough Castlemaine District Footy League playing for Cola down there. So many fingers and many pies, Andy.
But you're going to be down here for the big one, mate?
I will be, mate. But let's have a look at this week's fixture, I should say. Next week is interleague. We're jumping ahead of ourselves.
Yeah, well, DeLorean's just getting away from us here, mate.
Big games this weekend. I suppose none bigger than down at Mackie Park this weekend. Melton Central's taking on the Sunbury Kangaroos. Well, this will be a ripper.
That's going to be a rip-roaring game of football. I want to see the Centrals really take it up to the Roos. We've seen the Centrals over a couple of times over the last few weeks, and they've led by around 5-6 goals over Romsey and Lansfield and couldn't quite get the job done in the end. This is a big chance, so a big win here. Otherwise, a big bold performance would be essential to their season's progression, because there's a lot of teams coming up behind them that have got winnable games, and they could be quietly slipping out of contention. Yeah, they could do. The next game we'll have a look at, Broadford taking on Rupertswood at the Harley Hammond Reserve, which means only one thing. Yep. The big man's playing. Yep, of course, big bustling Barry Hall. Now, this is going to be a very interesting game for tipsters, mate. So yes. Will the big fella have a big impact? And given the improvement we've seen of the Rupertswood Footy Netball Club, they're really starting to mature and starting to develop. Yeah, it's interesting to see which way the tipping's gone in this one. You'll be able to pick up your copy of the RDFL record this weekend, have a look at the way the experts are tipped, and it's interesting in particular to see the way that one expert in the record's tipped. His name's Ben Brennan. Yep. He's the Community Engagement Officer at the Essendon Football Club, a fantastic supporter, of course, of the RDFL. Club. But he's also the tallest key defender that Rupert's would have got, and he's probably going to stand Barry Hall in the weekend. Oh no! Now, who did he back on the weekend out of curiosity? He went with the heart. He went with Rupo. Yep. So he's obviously backing himself in to keep Baz down. To keep him to good work, 8 Benny. Goals. Good luck. I'd hate to be him on Saturday. How do you think this one's going to go, mate? Oh look, I think this is going to go down a lot. I honestly think Rupert's will probably get the job done here. Maybe around the 3, 4, maybe 5 goal margin. I think there's enough experience in that team to get them over the line. It all starts in the midfield, and Rupert's do have a better midfield. Yeah, they do, let's be honest. Riddle taking on Lansfield up at Riddle Street Reserve this weekend. Riddle flying at the moment, they're undefeated, but I tell you, Lansfield will have found some form, and especially with that last quarter last week against the Centrals that you saw, mate. That's right. They'll get some momentum out of that. Well, the mighty battle of the Sashes. A few years ago, these teams were battling out higher up the ladder. Now it's a little bit different, but the Tigers, I don't think they should be taken very lightly. I think they're a quality side, and they won't get the 4 points on the day, but they'll work hard and they'll give Riddle a push, just like Rockbank last week. And if Riddle can't keep up the intensity they should have kept up against Rockbank, then look out. Lansfield could maybe in an upset. Speaking of Rockbank, they're in the next game for the week because they travel out to Green Hill Reserve to take on Wallen this week. This is going to be a pretty good game, I reckon, and Rockbank are going to fancy themselves. They've got former Essendon rookie Anthony Long coming into the side this week as well, so they're going to think they're a sneaky chance. And look, based on last week, I reckon they are because they played really well. Yeah, exactly. The way they pinpoint Riddle down, they worked really hard. Were never out of the contest until the last quarter, and it's a credit to their development with all the guys behind the scenes. So Wallen, they've been up and down over the last few weeks. It's really hard to gauge how their season's going. But given the off-field drama that they had to incur, I think any result, if they can walk away with a win today, just get their season back on track, I think is an enormous positive for them.
And you'll be able to hear this match on OKRFM, of course, 98.3. If you're in the Mitchell Shire area, if you go to the ground, 88.1. Make sure you whack that on. Tony and Nathan will be doing a fantastic job. In fact, they're going so well in their debut year that Kevin Dwyer said, we'll just leave it to the boys. I'm too old now. I'll just take a step back.
He's walked off. He's left it.
He's gone. He called me today and said, I'm retiring. I said, you should have retired 10 years ago. That's another story. Let's keep moving.
That's a day's worth of story.
Yeah,
there,
let's
mate.
keep moving. I want that one to kind of just slip through, not tread back over it.
Yep.
Macedon taking on Diggers Rest, the game that you'll be at for Highlands FM, of course, Indy. This is going to be a pretty good game. It'll be interesting to see if the win last week, Macedon got their mojo back. Where they've struggled is against the top teams in the league this year, of which Diggers Rest are.
Yeah, well, that's exactly right. Diggers Rest are in that top calibre. These two teams have fought off many great battles over the last few years in finals. And like, well, not what Macedon would have been after, but they've been on the wrong end of a few results there. But look, this is going to be probably the most crucial game for Macedon in this first half of the season. I know they've got a tough draw coming up, but this is the game for them. If they can get the win here, or even get within a couple of goals, it says a lot about their character and development. And Darren Goodwin, he was back in the team last week.
Kick three.
Yep, and in good form in the midfield. Just the sort of player that the Cats need to be firing. And in my opinion, they've got one of I've spoken very highly of it. I think they've got one of the most talented teams in the competition. Just haven't got it together, and they're up against Jamie Elliott's Diggers Rest, who, after a great tenure under Glenn Hopkins, who's now coaching Woodend Heskett, Jamie's introduced a really good attacking defensive element to them, so they're capable of kicking big scores. So this is going to be a cracking game of footy.
It will indeed. Last game for the round, Romsey taking on Kilmore. New rooms opening at Romsey this weekend, we believe. So
they got the keys tonight.
They did. I saw Dave Galliano here tonight as well, letting me know. So going to be very interesting from that regard. From a footy point of view, though, got a feeling this could be one-sided.
It could be, but there could be a bit of interest at selection table. I know there's a few sore bodies coming out of last week's game for the Redbacks, and given that Interleague's around the corner and the number of players may be up for selection, you just don't know. I mean, can't pay any disrespect to Kilmore.
Oh, definitely
Chris
not.
Nolan, he's got the boys up and flying, and he's as passionate as coach as you'll see in this competition. He wants the best out of his players, and if Romsey decides to take this game a little bit lightly, especially at selection table, look out, Kilmore could give him a bit of a shake, because Melton did that last year against the Redbacks on the home deck. So footy's a strange thing.
It is, mate. Sorry, I'm having a look around. The rain's completely stopped now, and wouldn't you know it, it's time to wrap up.
It is. Well, we thank you for your company wherever you may be watching the Mighty Web TV show. And Shawnee, all the best for the Interleague, mate.
Yeah, thanks, mate. We're not quite there yet. We'll have a show next week before the Interleague, of course.
But we're gearing up for that big one there, so it's going to be a big weekend ahead.
Yes, it will be. It'll be a fantastic weekend ahead of RDFL footy and netball as well. Before we get into the big one, we're going to try and have probably the biggest show of the year for you next week.
All the Stars came out to play. Well, all the Stars were out tonight, and they're going to be out this weekend as well. So on behalf of the team, we'll see you out there this weekend.